Hi, I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is live from the Hotel Edison. Times Square Chronicles presents Happy 2025. I am so excited because my first guest of the year is somebody whose work I have so appreciated. And even though I fell in love with him like the rest of the country in Ugly Betty, where I really learned to admire his work was the Temperamentals. He moved me in such a way. He has since wowed audiences on Broadway in Torch Song Trilogy, How to Succeed in Business, Once Upon a Mattress, Angels in America. He is such a prolific actor, and when I was studying his bio, he went to Juilliard, so of course he would be so fun, wonderful, and somebody that you just love watching. I'm talking Michael Urie. I can't believe what I didn't mention was Jane Anger and also Buyer and Seller, because Pat Addis would kill me if I didn't mention these.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Thank you for saying those nice things.
Please, I saw you in the Temperamentals, and I mean, my father was an agent, so I pretty much grew up seeing actors, and plus I acted at one point in my life. But your work in the Temperamentals was the most exquisite thing I'd ever seen. Oh, and I still remember it. Does that tell you anything?
Oh, well, that was a really cool play. I had worked on that play for quite a few years before we did it, before Daryl Roth produced it. And it was one of those plays that it was so specific, and it was about a moment in time that is hard to imagine. It was about this political organization for gay people in 1950. But long before Stonewall, long before marriage equality, these guys got together and created an organization to fight for their rights. And John Marin's, an amazing writer, he wrote this very cool story about them. And it was a bit of a blip. I mean, they didn't last that long. The Mattachine Society lives on in other forms, but this particular organization wasn't that long. And it was a cool play. I'm glad you remember it.
I do. I'm from LA, and I just did not know that existed because I grew up with gay people thinking this was quite normal and then I get to New York and realize, oh, it wasn't. And then I saw this and I went, wait, huh? How did I not know this? Juilliard. What was your first job out of Juilliard?
My first job out of Juilliard was a commercial for the New York Lottery. That was my first gig I got. And then the next gig, I auditioned. I think I had a few auditions for this very cool play starring Austin Pendleton that was directed by William Carden. And they did it at HB Studios, which is HB Playwrights, which is a part of the HB School, the Herbert Berghoff School, which is a great acting school in the West Village. And I was so excited to do it because of Austin Pendleton. He was my, just one of my idols. And it was a really good play. And when my agent called to tell me that I got the job, he said, well, you got it. There's no salary, but it starts rehearsal. And I was like, wait. Sorry, there's what? There's no what? And he's like, there's no salary. And I was like, I don't understand. You mean that I've been auditioning for this play and I had no idea? And that's when I learned what an equity-approved showcase was. It means they don't have to pay you. And I think what my payment for that job was a book of poems that the producer gave me. But
wait, not even a Metro card?
Maybe a Metro card. Maybe they gave me that was a thing for a while. They would give you a Metro card. But I did get paid an incredible experience getting to work with Austin. I mean, I shared the stage with Austin. I was just me and him on stage for like the first half hour, and then we had another beautiful scene at the end of the play. And getting to work with him was worth it. It was totally worth it. I mean, it was a rude awakening to like go through the process of auditioning for a job, thinking I'm in show business, and realize that it was just show.
No, I did summer stock, but they paid me.
Summer stock, they would pay you, yeah, and most theater pays you, but there's a contract through equity where you can't work that much, you can't work that long or that hard before they start having to pay you. But yeah, they can do it. They can do a showcase.
So wait, you were like, yay, I got money from the commercial, and oh, now I'm doing theater. None.
Yeah.
When getting Ugly Betty, how much work had you done prior to that?
I graduated Juilliard in May of 2003. And then that summer I did New York Lottery, and then I did the show with Austin Pendleton. And then the next pilot season, which was used to be a thing where they would make pilots in the spring and then choose amongst these pilots which would be on TV. This was a big TV. They don't do it anymore. Some, but that was back when there was really just network television. Now there's cable and there's streaming. There's still network television, but they make a lot less. So I got a pilot my first year, and I couldn't believe it. And it was kind of crazy. And I was broke, so it was really good that I got this pilot. And I shot it in Canada and thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to be on TV in a matter of months. But it didn't get picked up. So then I was back to the drawing board. But I had money. At that point, that was great. I had money. I didn't have to go back to my day job. And the next year, I thought, well, I'll definitely get a pilot this year.
What was your day job?
I was a temp. I would temp. But I was the lowest of the... I had a few different day jobs. I would temp. I would sometimes be a reader for auditions. I also did a medical research study for the effects of marijuana. That paid pretty well.
And plus you got high.
And I got to get high. And then the next pilot season, I thought, for sure, I'm going to get another pilot because I got a pilot last year, but I didn't. And my reps because I had done a pilot, my reps were like, you're a pilot guy, you're going to get pilots. And I got close, but I didn't get one. And so then the next year I was like, I'm not going to put all my eggs in this pilot basket because I don't know if I'm going to get one. Last year I didn't get one. And so by that point I had gotten a little bit more savvy. So I'm out of school 2 years now, and I'd gotten a little bit more savvy about the industry, and I was getting the casting breakdowns.
Oh yeah, me too. Right?
Yeah, you get.
I have friends.
Yeah, you have friends that you get the casting breakdowns. I don't remember how I got them. There was a period where they came by email, but this was before that. This was like I was getting them by, like we would share them. Well, I saw that there was a pilot being cast, shooting in New York, which is good, and being cast by this guy, Will Cantler, who had just seen me in a play in a basement. I had just done this play in a basement, got paid a little bit, and it was for the Red Bull Theater Company, which is a great company.
Which you still work for, by the way.
Absolutely. This was their second show ever. And so this is like almost 19 years ago. And Will Cantler came to see the show, and I saw him in the lobby. He was in the lobby, and he told me how good I was. And I was like, oh my gosh, Will Cantler. I knew him. Maybe he even cast me in the New York Lottery commercial. I mean, I knew him. And so I see in the breakdown, Will Cantler's casting this project, shooting in New York, and I see that there's this role, and it's bitchy gay assistant. That's all it said. It said, bitchy gay. I think I could play that. And the part I had played in the Red Bull show, he was like the villain. And the way they did it, I looked like David Bowie, and it was very fancy, like flamboyant. And so I thought, well, that's kind of what I just did. And Will saw it, and he liked it. So I told my reps to get me an appointment. Now this role, bitchy gay assistant, was a co-star, not even a guest star. So not a series regular. And I had played a series regular. And the difference is zeros and lines and guarantees. So when you do a series regular role in a TV pilot, you sign a contract for 7 years, whether that show gets picked up or not. When you're a guest star, you get paid a lot less, and you have no guarantees that you're going to be in the show. And when you're a co-star, you get paid even less and absolutely no guarantees. So my reps, understandably, said, no, you're not auditioning for this. You do series regular roles, because I had done one. They're like, that's what you do. I had not yet been on television. I had been in that one commercial. No, I hadn't been on, no, because that pilot didn't get picked up. I hadn't booked a Law and Order or anything. So I had no reel. No, I had nothing. And I'm looking at this role and I think this is a job I could get. And it wasn't like if I did it, I wouldn't also be allowed to get a series regular role. I mean, there was basically no contract. So I could just do this job and then still keep looking. Just give me the appointment. And so finally they said, all right, we'll get you the appointment. So I got it. This was Ugly Betty. And this role, it was better than a normal co-star. I always say, like, if you're watching Law and Order, the suspect is the guest star. And the person who says they went that way is the co-star. but it was actually more than that. It was a pretty good, a couple scenes. But they made it a co-star because the plan was that the character would only be in the first episode. And the character's boss, who was the head of the magazine in the show, would fire them every episode. So like you wouldn't necessarily say, they would just see that they have a new assistant every week. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. If this is just today, if this is just this one job, and I come in and I shoot my thing, and then I go, that's fine. So we start shooting the pilot, and Vanessa Williams, the great Vanessa Williams, ends up being my boss. And I meet her on the first day, and I'm like, nice to meet you. I'm like, oh, I'm playing your assistant. And I had this idea. I knew what he was wearing, and I knew what the scenes were, and I knew the only description was bitchy gay assistant. And so I thought, all right, well, I think he's obsessed with her. I think he wants to be her. He emulates her. And so I thought, what if I'm like always trying to move like she moves, or talk like she talks? And so as we started shooting, I was always blocked right behind her. We'd walk into a room together, but I was behind her. And so I would walk like her, and I would sit like her, and I would make faces like her. She didn't know because I was behind her. And somebody on the crew ratted me out to her. They were like, hey, you know what that guy's doing behind you? He's doing you behind you. And I didn't know. I wasn't there when she found out. And she came over to me and she was like, hey, I hear you're doing me behind me. And I was like, yeah, sorry, is that okay? And she was like, yeah, it's great. What else can I do that you can do? And so suddenly I'm pitching her ideas for what she could do that then I could do.
So you gave her something to bounce back off of. Oh, I can see how she would love that. If you're a good actress or a good actor, this is something that's like, oh my God, thank you.
I mean, that's exactly right. You're only as good as the weakest link. And so the better everyone around you is, the better you are. And that's something that like a real diva should know. And like
a playmate.
A playmate, exactly. It's like a team. It's like athletics, almost. And so I've definitely worked with an actress or two that might not be okay with that might not want you in there
stealing their scene.
Yeah. But she encouraged it, and we became a really good team. And then she was even like teaching me on set. She would say hey, if you're standing there, you're not in the shot, come closer. She would say things like that. And very generous. And by the end of the pilot, they invited me to be in the cast photo. And then when the show got picked up, I was in the show. I didn't have a good deal because I didn't have a deal, but I got to be in every episode. I had a huge part on the show, and it was, it set me. I just spoke to a group of high school students, and they knew Ugly Betty, and they weren't even born yet. It's on Netflix.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there.
Yeah.
But this is a show that doesn't have a timestamp to it, and it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny, and it was ahead of its time. Yeah. It was super diverse. Betty, the character of Betty, was moralistic, and so she was a really good person, and there were all these other people who were not good, and she always won. So it was like she was ahead of her time, and the show was ahead of its time. I mean, the only thing that dates it really are the flip phones.
No, here's something you don't know about me. How I started my paper was actually I slipped and fell at Duane Reade and literally walked out of my body. But prior to that, I had a callback to play Patricia Fields on Ugly Betty, which Harriet Harris ended up getting. So I actually almost was on Ugly Betty like years ago. So it's so funny because this, in a strange way, is like a full circle event for me.
Wow. I'm sorry you fell. My goodness.
Me too, but I got to where I needed to be. So, but after Ugly Betty, did your life change because now all of a sudden you have a name?
I mean, it changed entirely. Every facet of my life changed. I was living in New York, in Williamsburg, in a 3-bedroom apartment with 3 roommates, and my room was the size of this director's chair and that director's chair next to each other, and I paid I think I paid $450 a month for that room. And I was overpaying, and I was able to, I had figured out how to live off of like $1,000 a month between rent and food and MetroCard. I could scrape by on $1,000 a month. And then I got and then the show got picked up. I mean, we shot in like March or April, and by September I'm on television. So I'm living on $1,000 a month. I think the last time I asked my parents for help was right before I got Ugly Betty. And then I had a job that summer, a theater job that summer in San Diego. And then...
Oh, where in San Diego?
At the Old Globe.
I love that.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great job. And then while I was doing it, I found out that Ugly Betty got picked up and that I was going to be in it. Because again, I had no guarantees. Right. If I'd been a series regular, I wouldn't have been able to take that job. I would have had to wait and see if the show got picked up or not. So I was glad to have that job, but then I had to leave early, which was a bummer. But I had a really good reason. And in fact, actually, I left later than I would have normally. So we started shooting, and I was in a Shakespeare rep at 3 plays in rep at the Old Globe. And I would do a play at night. And then after the show was over, I would drive up to LA, sleep, shoot all day, and then drive back. So I would do Othello, and then after the show, drive up to Los Angeles, sleep on a friend's couch, shoot all day, try to leave in time to get down to the Old Globe, and do A Midsummer Night's Dream. And then...
Wait, who were you playing in each?
I was Rodrigo in Othello. I was Flute and Thisbe in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I was Chiron, one of the boys who gets baked into the pie in Titus Andronicus. It was the coolest. That was a month of my life I was doing double duty. I was really doing quadruple duty. I was doing double duty, doing a Shakespeare rep in San Diego and shooting a network television show in LA.
That's at least a 4.5-hour drive.
It was 90 minutes at 11 o'clock at night. 4.5 hours at 4 p.m.
Oh my God, I can't believe you did that in 90 minutes.
With no traffic.
That's impressive.
Maybe 100 minutes with absolutely no traffic and speeding. There's no traffic.
Right.
You might as well.
So after Ugly Betty, were you able to call the shots, or did you know what you wanted to do, or how did that work out?
Well, so after Ugly Betty, I had money, which is a big deal. I mean, I even though I didn't have a good deal, I made way less than anybody else on the show. It was way more than I'd ever made in my life. And so I was able to not worry so much about money. I mean, there were times later when money got tighter, or there was TV, I hadn't done TV in a while but yeah, I mean, that kind of financial security for an actor is invaluable, and it's a complete game changer.
Well, because you can choose what you want.
Yeah, you can choose what you want, and you don't. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to do other kinds of jobs. You can just be an actor. So that was really nice. But what it really did was it meant that my best opportunities in New York were no longer in basements. And this is nothing at all against basement theater. I still do basement theater. I think some of the best work I've ever done has been in basements.
Yes, buyer and seller.
Well, that was it. But yes, exactly. Or Jane Anger was in a basement. But that doesn't really pay the bills. So And I mean, most theater doesn't pay the bills, let's be honest. But before I was on TV, I had never auditioned for any of the major theaters and never been considered for any, certainly no commercial theater, certainly no.
Even with Juilliard as your schooling?
Maybe I had maybe not, maybe I shouldn't say it like that. Maybe I had never been really in the mix for any, maybe I had auditioned for like a Lincoln Center or a public theater, but I'd never really gotten anywhere. And now that I was on TV, it wasn't like suddenly green lights, but I was way more in the mix. And the Temperamentals. So that was a big part of it. So the Temperamentals actually happened the first time before we were finished. So I actually did it on a hiatus. Oh. So the hiatus, I believe it was between season 3 and 4, is when we did the first production of the Temperamentals. And then it came back towards the end of season 4, and I was doing double duty. And that was when Daryl Roth got involved. She put me on the poster, and I won some awards. And that was sort of that was kind of like my New York theater coming out. Kind of, yeah. Even though I had done, quite a few showcases, basement plays, that was really that's sort of what put me on the map.
I have to say that I'm so impressed because I didn't know that you started with Red Bull that far down, but you have continued to do amazing work with them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, when I got out of school, we went to school for Juilliard's a classical theater training program. So when I got out, I thought I want to do Shakespeare. I want to do the classics. I want to travel the country and work at all the regional theaters. And I wasn't really getting those. I got a couple. I mean, I got the Old Globe and I got another couple, but it wasn't I thought I was going to get a lot of them, but I wasn't, until I got on TV. I mean, that's sort of that's the tricky thing about this business is theater,
they put you in a box.
Well, when you're in theater, sometimes eyeballs help. Having more eyeballs on you helps. Not only the audience know who you are and want to come see you, but the people who are calling the shots, it helps those people to know is this guy good? Will this guy deliver for me? So it was just a really good thing. And suddenly I had, but not all green lights. So I still was auditioning and still getting rejected. And I mean, I still get rejected. We all get rejected, but for the most part, that was by far the biggest break.
There isn't one role that I've seen you in where you haven't fully immersed yourself and embraced that character, and they become like little small onions being very slowly peeled, that you are so lovable in them. I honestly can't see you playing somebody that we would hate, because I can't see you hateable. I'm not kidding.
Well, thank you. I guess that's really sweet. I mean, I played a kind of a mean guy on Ugly Betty, and I played an even meaner guy.
And How to Succeed?
Well, that guy was, you love to hate that guy.
But that's the thing, is you love to hate all the people that you play. There are people that play villains and you hate their little guts because of who they're playing. Right. But when did you know that you could sing?
Just now, when you told me. Well, I when I was growing up, we would go to see the national tours. My parents would take me to Fair Park Music Hall in Dallas, Texas, and we would see the national tours. I got to see Tommy Tune came through, and Jerry Lewis came through, and Damn Yankees, and I knew, because I had tried choir, and I wasn't very musical. I wasn't, I wasn't a natural at singing or music. But I loved music, and I loved musicals. So anytime I would see a show that had a role that I thought I was capable of singing, I would put it into my Rolodex, And one of those shows was How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. It toured through the Des McAnuff production that Matthew Broderick started and came through Dallas with Ralph Macchio. And in the lead, as the lead, and as the villain, Bud Frump, Roger Bart in Dallas. And I saw it, and I was like, I want to be that guy, Roger Bart. I want to play that guy. I want to play that villain. I could sing it. I could sing like that. I could move like that. I could be that. And so it was one of many roles that I had like my eye on over the years in a musical that I thought I could do that. I wasn't thinking that when I saw Phantom of the Opera or Les Mis, you know what I mean? Or even like, like Rodgers and Hammerstein. I was like, well, those seem like that's when you want real singers, baritones and tenors, and I'm none of those things. But I think it's so important in show business to be really honest with yourself about what you can do, and even more honest with yourself about what you can't do, because sometimes people will say, hey, like for example, I have been asked more than once if I would like to come and sing the national anthem at a sporting event. And that is absolute. And they ask me, and I could say yes, and then I might have to go and do it, and it would be a disaster.
What play would you like to do? What musical would you like to do? What playwright would you like to take on?
Okay. Well, I love Tennessee Williams. I'd love to do some Tennessee Williams. Glass Menagerie for sure is like on my on my bucket list. But also like some of the more obscure ones. Musicals. I'm really so like Prince Dauntless in Once Upon a Mattress. That was one of I had a Rolodex. That one was not in my Rolodex. So I kind of gotten to do a lot of the ones that were in my Rolodex. And then a few that weren't. So what's really and Prince Dauntless is the best that I've got. Definitely my favorite role that I've ever had in a musical. But I got to I had my eye on Spamalot, Sir Robin. I'd always wanted to do that.
And I cannot believe I forgot to mention that, because seriously, I thought you were the best thing in that show.
Oh, that's so nice.
You made me laugh the hardest.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice. I had it was so much fun. That was on my list.
Great cast too, by the way.
Great cast. How to Succeed was on my list. I did a funny thing happen on the way to the Forum. That was on my list. I got to do Bob Crewe in Jersey Boys. That was on my list.
Wait, were you Hero? Were you
Hysterium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I actually can see you as Hero though.
Well, I'm not quite that good of a singer. Hysterium's an easier thing to sing. You want like a really pretty tenor voice in it. But so I had all these on my list. There's a few more on my little list of musicals that I
such as
like The Devil and Damn Yankees, or
he's got a great song.
Great song. Or like the Dick Van Dyke Park in Bye Bye Birdie. Like that'd be fun to do. But what I really want, like I'm like this Prince Dauntless thing. They thought of me. I'm like, hey, can I come play this part? Hey guys, can I come play this part? They actually thought of me. So I want that to happen again.
What haven't you taken on? Film, TV. I know you direct. I know you write. What haven't you taken on that you would really like to sink your teeth into and delve more into that genre?
I actually am not a writer. Thank you for saying I am.
Wait, didn't you help write one of the shows that your husband Ryan did? Oh, I thought you did.
No, he's a good writer, but I'm not really a writer. I'm not a writer. I've directed a little bit, and I like directing, but I'm not like. I'm more of as a director, I find myself more of like a problem solver than like a visionary, like Michael Arden, right, who's directing maybe Happy Ending. That guy's a visionary, I want to do some more dramatic stuff. I've done a lot of comedy. Temperamentals was a great example of a drama. Angels in America. I did another Tony Kushner play, Bright Room Called Day, and I did the Cherry Orchard, which is like the saddest play. And I'd like to do some more of that. I'd like to do some more Shakespeare. I got to play Hamlet. That was pretty cool. I'd like to do some more things like that. I love doing comedy. I feel like maybe we have another few years where we're going to want a lot of comedies. But I am also really I'm drawn to some more drama. I'd like to get some more, you know, meaty stuff.
I think that's one of the best things about your acting is that you are so funny. But when you delve in, I've seen all of these, by the way. When you delve into the deeper things, you actually bring the comedy out in that drama, which makes it, I think, even more spectacular to watch.
Thank you. I do think, especially with Shakespeare, even the tragedies, they should be funny. And it's not that they're like humorous, it's that the audience is laughing with recognition. Like when you're doing Shakespeare and you get the audience to laugh, they're not like laughing because of a pratfall or because of, you know, like a punchline. They're laughing because they're following it. And there's nothing worse than Shakespeare to a quiet audience, because that means I mean, you don't want, you know,
They're sleeping.
Yeah, they're bored. And I've been in those shows. I've been in the audience. I've been on stage in those shows where it's like the audience is bored. They are trying to figure out what's going on, because it's not easy to follow Shakespeare. Even when you have an intelligent audience, if it's not alive and human and accessible, they're gonna check out.
I have to ask you, I can't believe I didn't even bring this up. Shrinking.
Yeah.
Apple TV, you're still doing that? Tell us a little bit about that. Will this go on for a little bit?
Yes, we're about to start shooting season 3. Season 2 is out there, and season 1 both on Apple TV, and really cool. What a cool gig! I've been the last couple of years. I've gotten to go back and forth from doing Shrinking to Broadway musicals, and that was not on my bingo card, but it's awesome.
You must have won because bingo gave it to you. Because this is a New Year's Day show, I have to ask this question. What are the resolutions, the wishes, the thoughts you have for 2025?
I think 2025 is going to be, there's going to be a lot of, we're going to have a lot of struggles, and we're going to have to really watch out for each other. And I think, I guess if I had a resolution, it would be to try to be patient and supportive of the people who respectively think differently than I do and have less than I have.
I love that.
Okay.
There was no right or wrong answer to this. Sometimes I ask questions that there are just not right or wrong answers to. They're just how we think.
Yeah.
Is there?
I didn't expect 2025 to go this way. I can't say that I'm surprised it's going this way, but it's still shocking and still scary, and so I don't know. One day at a time, right?
In a strange way, it's like, should old acquaintance be forgot? It's actually following that song. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you, or that you would like our audience to know about you?
Well, I am I'm a co-founder of a LGBTQIA theater festival called Pride Plays, which has a home at the Rattlestick Theater. And we've done a few festivals, and we're gearing up to do another one this June. And it's something that I'm really passionate about. I think that I've been really lucky. I've been in lots of great queer theater. And I know that many of the institutions that program lots of theater, there's certainly no lack of queer theater, but I know a lot of the times queer plays will end up lumped into the same category, which is queer. And and the truth is that they could be very, very different. I mean, there's so many different kinds of people within the LGBTQ community. And so Pride Plays really strives to represent as many of those groups as possible and not lump them into one group, which is what happens inevitably. And so I applaud theater companies for producing queer work, and they all do. Right. But often one queer play will get chosen over another that is like really actually nothing like that one. You know, it's not like, it's like apples and oranges, and sometimes they get lumped into they're on the same pile. And so what Pride Plays tries to do is take that whole pile and
separate them and give them their own boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that. Yeah. I so love that. I am so grateful to my guest, Michael Urie, for joining us and kicking off 2025 in a way that I really like. I am grateful to Magda Katz for always videoing us and making us look good and sound good. To Ramel Gopez for allowing us to have a home and giving us a place to feel loved. I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is live from the Hotel Edison. Times Square Chronicles presents.